I don't know how many of you guys have been following this Bill Belichick going back to college. Well, not going back, going to coach college. I believe for the first time since he was like maybe a grad assistant way back in the day. I would have to look at his Wikipedia, but I don't believe Bill Belichick has any significant college coaching experience, right? Obviously, one of the most accomplished professional coaches of all time. But when it comes to college football, there's not much of a trace there of Bill Belichick, right? This is a man who got his start with the Baltimore Colts in 1975. Like, maybe if you dig deeper than that, there's got to be some kind of college connection. But that's where Bill Belichick's experience has been. It's been in professional football. He announces that he is on track to take the North Carolina job and then drops this detailed Bible, and that's what they called it in the report, of everything the University of North Carolina needs to do in order to get Bill Belichick. And North Carolina agreed to those terms, and they hired Bill Belichick officially. And at 72 years old, Bill Belichick's going to be the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, there's so many different thoughts that go through my mind when I see this story drop, right? Is this his way of trying to get back to the NFL? Is he just trying to do something different in his 70s? Is this a way of getting his son a foothold in college football, right? Maybe he builds out this program, uses his reputation to get a solid program off the ground, and then, spends the last few years of his career building something for his son to take over and for his son to use as a launching pad to do whatever he wants with his career. Could be that too. Now, the big question after Bill took this job, other than why he took this job, is what's going to be his strategy for being good at this thing that he has only done something that is adjacent to college football head coaching, but not the same as college football head coaching. So what's his plan here, right? Well, it would appear that Bill Belichick's plan is to hire as many people who have associations with the NFL is possible in order to sell North Carolina as a pro football fact. Basically, he's trying to do what John Calipari did at Kentucky, or at least some version of what John Calipari did at Kentucky, where he basically ran the Kentucky basketball program like an NBA team and used that to prepare guys to be in the NBA. Now, basketball, college football, two completely different worlds. There have been college coaches who have tried this in the past, but that's what he seems like he's trying to do, right? It seems like to me what Bill Belichick's going to do is basically say, I'm going to run an NFL organization in college football. We'll see how it does on the football field, but I'm going to run NFL plays. I'm going to run NFL defenses. I'm going to have NFL coaches. I'm going to have NFL structure to this program. We're going to have a general manager, which for those of you who have not watched a ton of college football, you hear the term general manager pop up out of college football. And much like when I first heard the term, you're like, what the hell is that, right? A general manager in college football is basically somebody who's in charge of doing all of the recruiting, dealing with NIL, dealing with agents. This is college football's adjustment to coaches having to deal with all of that and not wanting to do that anymore. They're delegating that task to somebody else. So now that's what's going on in college football in a broader trend. That's also what Bill Belichick is doing in North Carolina. He has a general manager. It's a familiar name. And this is why we're talking about this, right, on this channel, because this is not a North Carolina Tar Heels channel. The reason we're talking about this on this channel is that Bill Belichick, in his attempt to surround this program with as many NFL adjacent names as possible, seems like he has to scrape near the bottom of the barrel. Now, he is hiring Mike Lombardi to be the general manager, which, if you know anything about Mike Lombardi, if you remember anything about Mike Lombardi's 2 stints in Cleveland, you know exactly what that means for Bill Belichick's role in player personnel development. Mike Lombardi, for those of you who don't know, former GM of the Cleveland Browns, former assistant in the 90s for the Cleveland Browns. He is famous in Cleveland Browns fandom for doing 2 things. Well, 3 things, really. One, he's the guy who cut up the diminishing skills tape on Bernie Kosar that eventually led to Bernie Kosar being cut, released, and I believe signing with the Dallas Cowboys, where he did win a championship. That's the first thing that Michael Lombardi is infamous for amongst Browns fans. The second thing that Mike Lombardi is infamous for amongst Browns fans is he was, I believe, the first general manager that Jimmy Haslam hired. So he took over for Tom Heckert after the failed Mike Holmgren regime. Remember, Mike Holmgren was hired to be the president of the Cleveland Browns in the last year of Randy Lerner owning the football team. Then Jimmy Haslam bought the team in the middle of the 2012 season. His first thing of business was to hire Joe Banner. Joe Banner's first thing of business was to hire Mike Lombardi to be the general manager. Another fun thing that Mike Lombardi is famous for is being the only person on television that was willing to say, hey, no, that Brandon Whedon pick was good, which it ended up being an awful pick. He's also responsible for the 2013 draft, which, to be fair to Mike Lombardi, the 2013 draft was historically lacking talent. So the failure of this draft class is not 100% on Mike Lombardi. He has like one terrible pick in this draft class, and I think it's Leon McFadden. He picked Leon McFadden in the 3rd round, pick 68. Leon McFadden played corner/safety, and you know who went pick 69 is Tyrann Mathieu, right, in that draft. So one giant miss. Barkevious Mingo, I mean, he was just as bad as everybody else in that first round. It was a bad draft, but he's infamous for that as well. So that's who he has being the general manager. Now, I was not aware that Freddie Kitchens was currently the interim head coach for the North Carolina Tar Heels. Apparently, he had been down there doing some run game coordination, doing some tight ends coaching. I did not know what Freddie Kitchens had done with his career after he got fired from the Cleveland Browns. I know he was on the Giants for a little bit because like the Browns played the Giants in 2020, and that was a whole thing on NBC. But I just assumed that he was a position coach still in the NFL. Did not know he had dropped all the way down to the ACC. So he is the tight ends coach and the run game coordinator, and he's the interim head coach. In Bill Belichick's first press conference, he confirmed that Freddie Kitchens is going to stay on the staff. And I don't know if Freddie Kitchens is doing a good or bad job there, right? Like, I think the problem with Freddie Kitchens isn't having him on your coaching staff. He has been a fine position coach before in his career. It's just, if Freddie Kitchens is your head coach, obviously there are some problems that come with that. So, interim head coach. He's going to coach the bowl game for North Carolina, if you're interested in that. And then Bill Belichick will take over. He will go back to being a position coach. And that seems like the plan, right, for Bill Belichick. I'm going to build a NFL program in college football. Now, I do not believe he's the first person to try to do this, right? This is something that Jim Harbaugh did for a little while at Michigan, and he kind of gave it up around like 2018. A lot of guys come from the NFL and they try this game in college football. And I think the point that's being missed here with not just him trying to do this, because I think there's a lot of people who feel the need to explain what the strategy is and feels like that explanation is sufficient just because it's Bill Belichick. But the issue, even if this were your strategy to do what Bill wants to do, build an NFL program in the ACC, okay, cool. That's the guideline for the plan. All right, there's something that can make it work. You got the cachet of Bill Belichick going for you. Like it has more of a chance of working than when like Hugh Jackson tried to do this at Grambling, or like Herm Edwards tried to do this at Arizona State. Like you got a better chance of that working simply because Bill Belichick is one of the greatest NFL head coaches of all time, and there's going to be a lot of people that want to sign up to be a part of this initially. The issue that I have when I look at this is like, look at the names that we're hearing being rumored. Matt Patricia, Freddie Kitchens, Mike Lombardi. Like, we're not getting the best people who aren't in the NFL but used to be in the NFL. These are like hires the Browns would have made in like 2010. Like, it's a whole different era of like, you gonna tell me Romeo Cannell gonna pop up on this damn staff? I wouldn't be shocked. Like, it's not just, okay, you're doing the whole NFL in NCAA thing, which has a dubious track record of success. And the problem with the NFL to NCAA thing is it usually ends up with you hiring a bunch of guys who can't be in the league anymore because the league done passed you by, right? Because if you want to have access to the cutting edge minds of the NFL, you got to be in the NFL to do that. So when you're not in the NFL and you're trying to hire a NFL program, you end up doing stuff like hiring Marvin Lewis in 2023 or hiring Greg Williams. You know, somebody who out there coaching spring football, right? Like, that's usually what it ends up being when you try this strategy in college. And that's kind of a smaller symptom of the bigger problem that I've seen with this strategy, which is the problem with trying to do NFL in the NCAA is that you don't have access to NFL talent when you coach in the NCAA, not in the coaching tree, and not in the player pool. So it's not really able to be done. And the only people who are going to be willing to do it from a coaching standpoint are going to be people who have been seen as the league has passed them by. That's the problem that most of these attempts run into. But also, you're doing this with people that you can argue weren't even successful in their own right in the NFL. It just feels like North Carolina is paying for one big nostalgia trip for Bill Belichick before he gets on out of here or decides he wants to retire for real. That's the part that makes me like feel questionable about it, right? Because yes, it's Bill. Bill's a genius. Bill's figured all of this out. But one of the things that Bill had an issue with at the end of his NFL run was that it felt like the league had passed him by. That was part of the issue with Brady and Bill at the end of Brady and Bill's run, is that he felt like the league had passed him by. And he felt like Bill just was too much to deal with. And if you've heard how Gronk and Tom Brady were reacting to him coaching college kids, it does not seem like the people who have worked with him and won a lot with him feel like that's going to work. I don't know. This don't smell good to me. This smell good to y'all? Because this don't smell good to me at all. Maybe it works out. And again, it's Bill Belichick, and it's a testament to the work that Bill Belichick has done, the resume that Bill Belichick has had in his eventual spot in the Canton Pro Football Hall of Fame, that we are even considering entertaining this right now. Like, that is a testament to how good Bill Belichick is at doing this. Is that we're willing to entertain. Because if this weren't Bill Belichick and this was Josh McDaniels and we were talking about him hiring Freddie Kitchens and Mike Lombardi, oh, yeah, we making jokes off rip. We're going to act like this thing has zero chance of having success. But since it's Bill, we kind of like, I don't know, might work. Even though this looks very outdated. Even though Bill Belichick is not the age that he was when he accumulated all those accomplishments in the NFL. Even though he's coaching in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, which is just not the most fertile grounds for recruiting. Right? Like if he took the Florida job, if he took the Ohio State job, if he took the Alabama job, if he took one of those jobs like Texas, where it's almost impossible to mess up, because you have access to the best talent that college football has to offer, you're going to be on the top 3 of anybody in the transfer portals list just because of the brand recognition alone, then you might have a shot. But you trying to build UNC, a basketball school, into this? And look, Bill ain't the first person who's tried. They just fired Mac Brown. Yes, national champion winning coach Mac Brown, who tried to rebuild what he did at Texas in North Carolina. Spoiler warning, did not work. You see what I mean? Like this don't feel like it's gonna go well, right? And like, as much as people have speculated that this is ultimately one big nepotism play for him to get his son a job, like I said at the beginning of this video, there are no rumors that he's about to leave Washington. And if you're Steve Belichick and you've already, gotten to defensive coordinator at a school outside of your father's reach, it ain't like you're gonna become defensive coordinator, have more control as defensive coordinator with your dad than you are at Washington. So why would you leave Washington? So maybe this is something for him to run for a couple of years and then like hire his son as the successor. But that's a lot of time to plan for. Like, what if Washington like stinks next year and they fire all the coaches? You want to hire him to be an assistant? Like, I don't know, man. I'm just so curious about every decision that's getting made in this. And this is going to be something I'm going to watch during next college football season. So I'm just fascinated by all of this. I am. Let me know if you're fascinated by all of this. If the former failed Browns personnel get you interested in this, if the Bill Belichick get you interested, like what about this? Do you think this gonna work? Let me know in the comment section if you think this gonna work. I honestly, because it's Bill, it could work. But man, look who out here. We'll see who they hire going forward. But they're one Hugh Jackson away from getting a free sandwich at First Energy Stadium, because we'll see who they hire. Will they hire another failed Browns coach? Like what I said, Romeo Cornell earlier in the video. Who else could that? Eric Mangini? That feel like it could happen. They hire Eric Mangini. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man. Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.